Monday night, 8 o'clock, the only place to be. Justin talks Villa with the whole JTV family. Get in the chat room for the banter and discussion. JTV's live, here's the introduction. Come on Villa family, make some noise. JTV, locking down the vibe and joys. Come on Villa family, make some noise. JTV.
Hello, welcome back to, sorry, a bit loud there, ain't I? Welcome back to Justin Talks Villa. If only you knew what we've just been through in the last hour, but we'll get into it in a minute when I bring my wonderful guest on to start with, and it is my excellent friend from Canada, Mr. Pete Shard.
What's cooking?
What's cooking? Well, I've just had my dinner. That's the first thing that was cooking. Well, that was very nice. But
Yeah,
Pete,
your troubleshooting career and tech support is the career is not going so well. JH.
if you've watched any of these, Pete, over the last few months, you will know that tech issues are the bane of our lives. But we're getting there. We're getting there slowly. It's an ever. What's the word I'm looking for? It's it's evolution all the time, not revolution, Pete. We're learning as we go together as a big Villa family, as you are a huge part of the Villa family, Pete, aren't you?
Well, not really. I'm kind of, you know what I'm going through right now? Here's my life right now, okay? I'm trying to figure out if I should be carrying on with the same obsessive rituals that were helping Villa go to a 11-game club record winning streak, or if I should just abandon them now. This is how obsessive and neurotic I am. Like, people would think you're a psychopath if you saw what I went through for all those games when it was working, and now it's not working, and you have to decide, well, do I abandon it?
No, just keep going, Pete. That's what we have to do. We have to just keep fingers crossed and keep hoping that the next game is the game that everything absolutely starts again for us. And that's how I always think, whether, even in the midst of the brilliant run we had and all that, you know that at some point it's going to come to an end. But it's just riding these downward trajectories and hopefully finding the upward curve sooner rather than later.
Well, that's the funny thing, because psychologically, okay, I was thinking about this the other day. If all the wins of this season were evenly spaced out, right? If it was like we beat Newcastle, we lose to Crystal Palace, they're evenly spaced. There aren't these lows and highs and lows. If it was evenly spaced out and we're tied for third at this stage of the season, people would be over the moon. The problem is, it's now you're seeing the roller coaster dips and rises, and I think that's making everybody a little bit skittish.
No, I'm totally with you. I think I said similar kind of thing a couple of weeks ago. So if you haven't had this bipolar, for want of a better word, season that we've had, the ridiculous 5-game start, then that probably equally ridiculous run up till third place, and then the drop off, which we will get into the reasons why we think that's happened. Then yeah, you are right. That ultimately, like Unai, and he's been pretty steadfast with this all the way through. He mentions the game week every week. And when people say, oh, we're in a good run now, can you win the league? He said, we're at game week, whatever it was, 21. And now it's, your form fell off a cliff. Is this going to continue? We're at game week 28. There are so many 9 games left. So we'll see at the end of the season where we are. And we will then decide overall, over the course of a full season, whether we've had a successful season or not. But we are still hugely on track, in my opinion, for a great season still.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's so many memories already. I mean, you think about them. That's the shame, too, is you don't want to waste those memories. That's the other thing that, I keep going over is, the first 6 games, if you throw in Brentford's, Carabao Cup defeat. And then, I mean, how many of those come from behind spectacular wins that we didn't see coming? I mean, I've already been more than happy with the season. And at the beginning of the year, when I had some of my most loyal viewers on, the projections were pretty conservative. It was like 8th to 10th. There were very few people who said, yeah, we're going to be 3rd or 4th in Champions League places. So I'm satisfied. It sucks that it always has to be in these these runs rather than, being a little bit more consistent. And, I'm tired of talking about the injuries. I want the players who are being given the opportunity now to step in, to step up. And that's one of the issues, obviously. I hate making excuses, and so does everybody else.
Yeah, but, in football, that's what happens, isn't it? And unfortunately, football is very incumbent on issues like form, on injuries, on there's lots of different. That's why we love it so much, isn't it, Pete? Ultimately, there's that many things that can impact any given time, even during a 90 minutes, let alone over a course of a 5, 6, 10 game period. But we'll get into a few little bits and bobs before we start getting some guests on. We've got the usual people in the building tonight. Angie's a big fan of yours by the look of this, Pete. Steve is in the building. We've got Sean. We've got a lot of people in tonight. I wonder it's because I've got this gentleman here with his beautiful dulcet tones. Oh, I love listening to your voice, Pete.
That's very kind of you. I like listening to yours. It makes me miss being in Birmingham. And we were exploring going this year, but it's a World Cup year, and Vancouver's hosting 7 games, and incredibly, I'm actually going to be doing some commentary, if you can believe it, for the home games. So this year was kind of like, maybe we wait till after and start next year with a visit to Birmingham, because I miss it.
I miss you, Pete. I miss our Italians. I miss our lovely red wines. I miss our visit to the whiskey place.
Oh my goodness! When I look back at those, I get this feeling. When you look back at the pictures of those trips or the videos, and you immediately feel how you felt during that time. And a lot of people think, when people say, "Well, what did you think of Birmingham?" and I say, "I absolutely loved it. Like, I absolutely love it. It was everything that I expected and way more." And by the way, I live in a foodie city. We're a very international city. And Birmingham was every bit up there with the food scene, which I love, and the drink scene. Like you took me on the trip down to the Jewelry Quarter for the whiskey tasting. I mean, it was an amazing time. I wish it was easier and faster to get there, but I will return. I promise, just maybe not this season.
Okay. Well, I look forward to hosting you again, Pete. You know that, my friend. So, right, the number's on there now. If you want to drop me a message, I will give you the link, and you can come on and you can have a chat to Pete. You can ask him anything you want, Villa or non-Villa related. Ask him his favourite whiskey. He's probably as passionate about whiskey, if not more, than Villa, which is amazing because his passion for Villa is ridiculous. Okay, Angie's in the building. So Ange and Rob is here as well, the usual helpers we have helping us out. Last week we had, and I'll ask Pete this, so have a think about this, Pete. We are starting an Aston Villa playlist. Okay, we're going to get it together. So I want in a few minutes your song, Pete's song for the Aston Villa playlist, okay? It can be as obscure as you want, or it can mean something to you. That's fine. It doesn't have to be one of the songs that Villa come out to, anything, okay? So have a think about that. And we've also having a end of season curry night for anybody that wants to come. We've got 32 places available. We filled quite a few of them last week. So if anybody's new tonight to this, if you want to drop a comment into the comment section, and you'll put your name down, and if Steve comes on, we will get him to just double check the where it is, and we can go through all things like that as well. So don't forget, drop me a message, and then you will get the link, and then you can come on the screen like me and Pete are doing right now, and we can have a chat about Villa. So, Pete, we'll start with Lille, okay, as it's obviously the next game coming up, 2 days' time. Thoughts going into that?
It's a very different Lille team than the one we faced in the Conference League 2 years ago. Lucas Chevalier was, I thought, excellent. No wonder we were linked, and so was PSG in the end. And they also had Jonathan David at the time, and I saw his name associated with Villa again because things aren't going as well with Juventus. So that's 2 players that they don't have since our last visit. A little concerned about the state of where we're at, but you know what? Like, when the run started, it was when Bologna came to Villa Park, and it wasn't the most beautiful game by any means. It was actually very scrappy. That was the one where Morgan Rogers got the Bronx cheer for completing a pass near the end, incredibly. but that was the beginning of the run. And I just can't help but feel like this competition now represents a chance to just forget everything that's happened. We don't worry about yesterday. We only worry about the future. A lot of those players will have familiarity and good feelings about what happened in that stadium. And, Lille's now down to 6. They were 5th a week ago. They had a very kind of plain 1-1 draw over the weekend at home. And shockingly, they were terrible at home to, I'm going to say it the old-fashioned way, Red Star Belgrade. They were terrible, and they lost the game 1-0, and everybody's looking at it going, there's no chance you're turning that tie around when it goes to Serbia. And what do? They go and they turn it around. So very difficult team to predict. French teams are good. What can you say? But like I mentioned earlier, this is a chance to reset, restart, and just try to focus on a different competition in the meantime and forget what's happened over the last few weeks.
Yeah, I definitely echo everything you say. And I think it is an opportunity to maybe shuffle the pack as well, which is something that a lot of fans have wanted over the last few weeks, but it will allow us that chance to shuffle the pack, I think. And probably, I think he is a bit stubborn, if I'm brutally honest, Unai. I don't mind that because he's very steadfast in his opinions. He knows what he wants, and he obviously sees them week in, week out on the training ground. So who are we to argue with his picks? But he does feel a little bit stubborn at times. But I do think the Europa League gives him that opportunity to do a little bit more rotation without sort of admitting that he needs to play 1 or 2 players in different positions again. Would you agree?
Yeah, because they also have the Premier League game at Old Trafford. So if he sticks with his guns for that game, then he's going to have to rotate this time around. And, the one player that, and I said this on my last show, that, the way he goes, Villa goes, is Morgan Rogers. Morgan Rogers plays every game, and he plays 90 minutes for most of them. And he had an absolute stinker against Chelsea, which would have been extremely demoralizing because he was up against his best friend. And the amount of times that the turnovers that he gave away, because he was over 6 on ground duels, like he could not win a duel in that game. The amount of times it was Cole Palmer that ended up running away from him with the ball and then scoring the goal, somehow I feel like that will ignite him, because it was the low point for him this season. I mean, maybe going back to Bologna and the start of the season when, again, his body language was poor and his whole attitude seemed poor. Remember the penalty shootout against Brentford in the Carabao Cup?
Yes.
He's sulking, and Unai Emery spots it and makes a big deal of it. Like, it was really strange. That's when I was starting to worry, like, what has happened here? So I can't imagine that Morgan Rogers will have a game as bad as he did against Chelsea, and I just feel like he's going to be given the chance to play his way out of his funk, which is what Unai Emery has done in the past, and it seems to have worked. But if I'm Tammy Abraham right now, I'm going, why did I come here, first of all, and take a huge pay cut and, make this move when really I could have stayed where I was, made more money, and also been a substitute. At some point, at 2 years younger than Ollie Watkins, you just wonder if, he's thinking those things. And the only way that can change is if he starts. And then on Ollie Watkins, the guy he's the most maligned Villa player right now because nothing's happening for him. Watching the Chelsea game back again, though, he was actually fouled in the penalty area. I missed that completely, that he was fouled, and I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been Chalobah. But he gets all of Ollie Watkins before Watkins even makes contact on the ball. There was nothing. I don't even know if it was checked or not. No. And, that on top of the one he smashes and the goalkeeper sticks his hand up. If he just did that in the second half when the ball was played through by Buendia on the turnover, maybe he would have a little bit more success. And of course, then the goal's called offside. Like, the guy, he also needs to keep playing to get out of the funk. But I don't know if that's going to be the way. And you mentioned stubbornness. I fully agree. And again, like you said, who are we to say you've made the wrong selections? We're tied for third. We're tied for third.
We've all got we've got our first guest coming on, Pete, and it is the regular, Mr. Steve, live from his. Did we decide it was Olive Kitchen, Steve? I can't remember what you said.
I think we said Jade.
We decided a Jade Kitchen, Pete.
I think it is.
Right.
I don't know. It looks very camouflage green to me, Steve.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, he's trying to blend into the background, Pete. I think.
I don't see him. Steve, where'd you go, Steve?
He's there somewhere. Look, Steve, Pete, Steve. How are you,
Pete? I finally get to say it. welcome to my parlour.
Ah, brilliant, brilliant. Olive green and all.
Fans to be here, Pete.
Right,
Steve, go on.
My first question is actually from Ange.
Oh, okay. Why
When
can't
we-
Ange bring up Ange? You are
Ange
allowed
got-
on, you know.
Ange is not very well.
Oh, sorry, Ange. Get well soon,
Ange's
Ange.
got lurgy. She's not on the bubbly stuff. She's on the Lemsip tonight.
Oh,
today.
dear. I've had it all week, Steve. My nose is cracked to hell. Honestly, I've had a right stinker. Right, go on. Sorry, mate.
Okay, so the first one's from Ange to you then, Pete. How long does it take you to film and edit your episode? We only see the finished article, and you pack so much into them.
Oh, Steve, that's a great question, and I get asked that a lot. And I have counted it, week to week it does change. And, what I'm finding is people don't want to watch shows after a loss, which is, challenging because the same amount of work has to go into them. But it's around 18 hours, if you could believe it, because I watched the game twice. And the reason why I watched the game twice is the first time I watch as a supporter and through a very emotional lens, the instant reactions, it is shocking how many times I miss so much the first time. And when I watch it again, it's like I always think it's not as bad as it was and it's not as great as it was. So you have to watch the game twice and then you have to watch it through sort of a more analytical coaching type lens. So that in itself is 4 hours, and then there's gathering clips, then there's the recording. Recording usually takes about 3 hours because I'm a perfectionist, which is to my detriment, but I'll never be AI. So I have to do it that way, and I want it to sound and come off correct. So that's where the bulk of the time comes. And then, editing afterwards, that takes anywhere from another 3 to 6 hours. So, it used to be longer. I'd say now it's probably closer to about 10 to 14 hours.
So, okay. Pete, are you the Unai Emery of podcasters then when you repeatedly watch the games?
Yeah, big time. And like I found this too with the teams that I coach is I thought I saw something and then you use the VO camera and you go, oh, I got that completely wrong, which is why it's important you don't react sometimes, So that's the biggest thing is just watching it again and going far enough back to see the inception of goals or the inception of problems, and that takes time.
That you just led me into my first question. How did you get into coaching?
You know what? That's another great question, Steve, because I was a very mediocre goalkeeper, okay? Everything I did was out of reaction, and this is when I'm just entering my teens. I was a late bloomer. I got into football late, and I gravitated towards goalkeeping. And so everything I did was pure reaction, and the coach in my club identified me and said, "Do you want to come play for the Division I select team?" He had no idea how to coach a goalkeeper at all. And so instead of helping me become better and learning the game, he actually made me as the scapegoat when things didn't go well. And he was an English guy coming to Canada. We have a lot of those, by the way, and they say all the right things. And because they have the accents, the parents all go, "Oh, did you hear that?" He said, "Let the ball do the work." Oh, Mike, And so it was a devastating time for me self-esteem wise. I'm 14. And I actually had to call an adult and say, I'm not playing on that team anymore. And I went to an academy on Vancouver Island that was a week-long residential academy where we had actual coaches who knew what they were doing. The transformation in me was so dramatic that I started realizing I'm never going to be a professional player. But boy, the coach made such an impact on me. That's the thing I should be doing because that has such a profound impact on a young person. So at 18 already, I started. Like I was 18 years old, my local club, and I got all the kids that were left over. First they select Division 1, then they select Division 2. Everybody left over came to me. We won our division, which was probably the worst thing that could happen because then you develop ego. And it takes about 20 years to work through that. Then you have your own kids and you understand empathy suddenly and everything changes. So I took it really, so I've been into about 35 years. It's been a lot of time here at the local club, which I absolutely love to death because it's also identifying players and making sure they're in the right teams, maybe even moving players up an age group, but always thinking about their best interests, working with them, goofing off with, like it's something that totally keeps me young. When you're around kids that have that kind of energy, it rubs off on you, and that's the greatest gift, because my two kids are teens and they're out of football now, so it's kind of my contact with the game. So I love it. It's a big part of what I do. I've learned a lot, and I'll never ever know everything, and that's the frustrating thing. Just when you think you're on a good path, somebody comes along and says, have you ever thought about this? And it's like, I'm starting all over again.
I always played on the left wing for the school team, Pete, because I had a left foot and I could run fast. But I was always fascinated by goalkeeping. I always think a good goalkeeper gets his positioning right before he has to face the shot. So what's your thoughts on it? Because it makes the save so much easier if you're in the right position. And I think Martinez has been in the wrong position on quite a few occasions in the last 2 seasons.
He has. There's been a couple. I think the free kick against, was it?
Leeds.
Leeds. So the free kick against Leeds, he was cheating too much on the back post. So you were a left-footed left winger. That's totally old-fashioned, because now you'd be inverted and you'd be playing on the right side, so you can cut in and shoot. And my philosophy on goalkeeping was, and again, this was not something that I realized until after the academy. And by the way, one of my academy coaches was Gordon Banks. If you could imagine, like Gordon Banks, I knew who Gordon Banks was. And he was an absolute gentleman of a guy, like an absolute prince. He didn't offer the most technical advice, but what he did offer was always about how to be class, in certain situations, how to behave, how to be amongst your team. And he, like many others, also said, if you are communicating effectively and sharply and clearly, you won't face a shot in the first place. And so we've now developed vernacular for goalkeepers: left shoulder, right shoulder, this kind of stuff. And so now when I talk to goalkeepers, I mean, the two things that separate goalkeepers today from when I played is you've got to be excellent with your feet, which Emi Martinez has proven that he can be as well. And you've got to be really clear and concise on the instruction you're giving your back line, so that you don't take the shot in the first place, that they actually mitigate, any chance before it even evolves.
The greatest goalkeeper I ever saw live was Peter Shilton.
Yeah.
He was fantastic.
Yeah. I used to be, so when my friend and I would kick it around, because I literally every single day of my life through my early teens, I was out every day. And my friend James Hickling would smash shots at me. That's all we did for 3 hours till it got dark. Grass stained, just horrendous. Sometimes it was pouring with rain. And we would do these games. This is how I developed my commentary career too, by the way. We'd do games. And Peter Shilton in Southampton was one of the teams that always played, because I loved Peter Shilton. But there was also Nigel Spink and Ray Clements and John Ogrizovic at Coventry City. Was he at Coventry City? Can't remember.
Yeah.
So anyway, you're speaking my language and bringing back great memories of, like, there was such a great era of goalkeepers at that time, and they were so distinct. And of course, Arsenal. Why can't I remember his name? Seaman. There's just Clements. There was just so many of them. Grubbelar played in Vancouver. That was such a golden era.
Not Ray Wilson, the other Wilson.
It's not coming to me, Steve.
Yeah.
Anyway, any other questions, Steve-O?
Yeah. Let's quickly move on to current Villa, because that's what everybody's interested in. What are your thoughts on Konza? Because I think he needs a rest. Because with what went on with Wolves at the end of the game, and he made a mess of the Chelsea offside the other night, and he also made a mistake against West Ham a few games ago, if you remember.
Yeah.
In the first minute. So what are your thoughts on Konza? Because I've not seen Lindelof make any mistakes.
Yeah, it's a great question, but we go back to what Justin and I spoke about before you came on, which was the, shall we say, consistency of Unai Emery. Some may say stubbornness. The fact that he was given the armband complicates things a little bit, because once you've given him the armband now, you're saying this guy in John McGinn's absence is the captain. So to say, well, we're going to drag you and put on a guy, that's had very few minutes, despite the fact that, yeah, you're right, he does very little wrong, Victor Lindelof, and he's the captain of his country. And his country is going to the World Cup? I can't remember. Is Sweden going to the World Cup? Anyway, he's a very experienced player. So it's complicated in that regard, and I agree. There's been mistakes, and we've seen this throughout Ezri Konsa's career. These little mistakes that just, I mean, I go back to the Gerrard time. He had a terrible time under Steven Gerrard, and then his career was revitalized. And the danger is you remove him, and then all of a sudden Lindelof comes in, and it's a worse mistake. I'm not convinced about the Mings Pau Torres situation. It's one of those things like. This was not happening during the 11-game run. It wasn't happening at the end of the 23 season, Emery's first, when Mings and Konsa were absolutely airtight, that helped us get into the Conference League, which seemed totally against the odds. So it's a tough one. I think a lot of fans are annoyed with the, was it a dickhead comment he made at Wolves?
Apparently so, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. And that then... that's a mistake by a guy who's in a captain's position. He doesn't need to do that. He could just turn around and walk away and avoid all of that. But now there's been a slight change, I feel, around Ezri Konsa, and he doesn't walk on water as much now because of that. And we got to be careful that we don't let that taint, because I don't know how players survive in England. People are tagging them in to their social media posts and saying horrible things. That would annoy me as well. So, I don't think it's time to drag Ezri Konsa, but I understand why the sentiment has changed within the fan base.
Last question, Justin.
Okay, mate.
John McGinn and Tielemans. People are saying in the chats that when they come back, it might take them some time to get up to pace. I don't think it will with those two players. I think John McGinn is going to drag us to the Europa League final and win it. And I'll revert back to last season's second half against PSG. He single-handedly dragged us back into that game, scored the first goal, ran half the length of the field, and I think he's going to do it again. Tielemans, it's all up there, isn't it? It's in his head. So he's going to get straight back into it, drill them passes to the wing, and he'll make our players that are not performing very well perform better.
Well, certainly Yuri Tielemans takes some pressure off of Morgan Rogers, and also Morgan Rogers benefits from the delivery of Yuri Tielemans there. I would say the same for John McGinn. I mean, listen, if Kamara, Tielemans, and McGinn were fit, they would be starters. So that's a third of your team, almost a quarter of your team that's missing right now. The difference now, John, for me, of where we're at right now, is there's also a World Cup on the horizon, and both of those players are key members of their nations. And I hope that when they step onto the park, there isn't a little voice in the back of their head saying, don't get injured now, because, this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing that's coming up here. And the World Cup does funny things to people. It does, because, it is once every 4 years. You never know when it's going to be your last. And for McGinn and Scotland, it's a big deal. And he admitted as much. And he also said, there's a lot to accomplish with Aston Villa as well. But I would be cautious about expecting too much, because we've seen it before. Even Tielemans at the beginning of this year didn't necessarily set the world on fire initially. So, and the ankle is a weird one. The ankle's one where even if you just turn it a little bit, it always feels like you're turning it the whole way every time, and you get conscious of it. So I hope you're right. I hope that they come in, they grab the team by the scruff of the neck. Certainly they give options, which is the most important thing, and they take maybe some of the pressure off other players.
I don't think John McGinn's thinking about Scotland yet. He's thinking about Newcastle captain, Spurs captain, and Crystal Palace captain picking up those trophies. And he got jealous.
I hope you're right.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Pete.
No problem, mate.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah, thanks, Steve.
Thanks,
I
Steve.
do appreciate it. You know that I appreciate you coming on, mate. I'll just remove you from the studio for a second. Right, just to address this one, don't text via text number. Please send the text message to WhatsApp. That would be fantastic. If you can WhatsApp that number, I can then send you the link. We've got a couple of people now waiting to come on. I just wanted to mention that question actually from Pete, I love having you on, mate, because I don't have to speak. I just sit and listen to you. I feel like I'm just sitting listening to you, which is fantastic. Exactly why we had you
I'm
on.
going on and on. Sorry.
No,
That's
you
just
are
me.
absolutely not, mate. Absolutely not. This is the first of many times you're coming on. I'm telling you that live on air. I'm not telling because I want you to agree to it. Right. So, yes, John McGinn, totally agree. I think the issue we're going to have is if results keep being poor until they're both back in the team, then their level of impact that people perceive that they're going to have is just going to keep going higher and higher and higher. And I always remember Graham Taylor saying something really interesting many, many years ago now, because you're of a similar vintage as me, Pete, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Is that it's amazing how great all the players in the stands get when the team on the pitch aren't performing. And I think we know the quality that we possess with especially those two. We obviously have to write Kamara off. But I think McGinn, I think he alluded to it in that interview he did, where he said basically that he feels fitter now, and he's done a lot of fitness work, apparently, while he's been out, than he has for a long time. So I think McGinn, because of the nature of his game and the nature of how he plays football, he's probably more akin to coming and hitting the ground running, because it's more aggressive, it's more running, it's more getting involved in the game, where Tielemans' more nuanced way of playing and the ability to pick a pass or, feed the ball through the lines or find space. I think that takes a little bit more time when you come back to get into the sort of. Would you agree?
Yeah, Tielemans is definitely about timing, and McGinn is about graft. I think McGinn's actually been managed very well this year because he is often removed at the hour mark. Then you take the time off for the injury recovery, which also it's not the rest he wants. Nobody wants to be in the gym that whole time, and there's nothing like actually stepping onto the field and the intensity that you then face. But there is definitely going to be a refresh for both of them in some cases. I'm sure you've probably seen the little piece that Villa put out about their nutritionist, the gal from Mexico.
Oh, fabulous, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is something that, a lot of people don't put a lot of stock into, but John McGinn is in the greatest shape of his life. Yeah. And I know he probably hates it. He said in the bit, you have a deep fried pizza. And instead he's getting fed chickpeas with olive oil or something horrible. So he will be definitely refreshed through the time off, and he is probably in the best condition of his life. But I still worry a little bit about the expectation that you alluded to of when you come back for the first time. It's like stepping onto a treadmill that's going 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And I think for him probably it's weirdly come at a good time for him getting this injury, because not for us obviously, because he has allowed the time to step away, sort his fitness out, get fit, and now he's got this run to the end of the season where hopefully he can get his form back, and then that'll feed then, like you say, into the World Cup. Right, Steve from Cannock, I'm going to get you on now. I don't know whether your camera is on.
Is it all the Steves today? Is that it? We're just doing Steve.
We only allow people on if they're called Steve. That's the rule tonight.
It's part of the memo, Pete.
That's it, yeah. Pete, Steve, Pete. Steve, crack on, mate.
How we doing, Pete? All right?
Very well. Very nice digs you have in the background there, too. You have your own parlor going on.
Yeah, I've got my conservatory's a bit of a man cave, so pool table, Villa memorabilia, all that type of stuff. So
he only lives around the corner. He's never invited me around for a game of pool either, Pete. Pete, you know what I mean? It's disgraceful.
I've got to make sure I beat him first.
Shouldn't be a problem. I'm rubbish. Right, go on. Have you got anything you want to ask Pete?
Well, first of all, I wanted to start on a bit of a positive, and not only was it positive for us for Villa, but I think positive for football. Do you know the Chelsea game? I don't know if anybody noticed. Do you know, because we did the old let's put four forward and make them have men back. Did you notice that there was no grappling on Martinez? Martinez was too busy worried about throwing people in the net that were in his way, and that's common in every game in the Premier League. Pretty much. Good
point. That's a very, very good point. That's a very interesting adjustment, by the way, too. That I wonder if that will now become a trend.
Well, the thing is with that, Pete, you've got to have some balls to do it and stick to it, because if I'm if I'm Chelsea player, I'm going to go, all right, I'm going to go forward and go for the short and see what happens. Because 9 times out of 10, you're going to follow him. So I think it's brave. I don't think you can do it every week, but I think you can pick your moments, and it will work. I think that the only criticism of it was there was probably twice. One where I think was part of the Watkins offside goal where we broke from probably the second or third phase of play from that corner, from a defending corner. But there was definitely one instance where Martinez picked the ball up and he could have just booted it forward in a space, and there'd been 4-on-4, and for whatever reason he was too reluctant to do it. So by the time he'd probably processed, oh, maybe I should have hit that long, and the fans were moaning, groaning about it, rightly, wrongly, different. I think you kind of missed the opportunity, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think he prefers that.
Yeah,
let's get the ball down and play and have it back, and he probably feels more part of the game, and he's probably told to do that as well.
Yeah, well, he has no problem with distribution. The other consequence of putting the 4 forward is that, did you notice, I think Chelsea had 6 corners to our none at that stage. How many times did they actually directly play it into the box? I think it was only 1 or 2. Everything else went short. So they were trying to change or improve the angle, which is how you counter that. And now the Villa players have to decide, they've gone to the ground and we're outnumbered. So, that was a really interesting cat and mouse moment. But yeah, I think you're right. The break on the offside goal did occur from one of those.
Dave, just before you carry on, mate, I'm glad you brought that up because I totally forgot about that. But I absolutely loved watching that in the ground, because when I saw them doing it, I thought this is like watching old Sunday league football that I used to play, because our manager would say, just leave a couple up. Leave 2 or 3 up, because they had to go man for man. So they had 4 players on our halfway line defending, and then one or two of them were trying to sneak forward and trying to see if the other players were going to go with them. And that's at that point you think, what are they told? Are they told to follow the player in if they go, or do they stay out? And then obviously you got the keeper doesn't come up, and then you got the taker. So immediately taking 6 players out of the box. And like you're saying, these days with the Premier League, which is very heightened at the moment with this grappling, and especially the way Arsenal are sort of scoring goals from set plays, to do that, it will be very interesting to see next season if we do it, maybe even against Arsenal.
Yeah, again, I think you have to pick your moment. And, in a sort of a few years ago, I was involved in semi-pro sort of football myself, and I was a manager, and that was one of the things, but I did it with 3, stayed forward rather than obviously 4. And the 2 things I told the team was, as soon as, if the goalkeeper gets that ball, just boot it forward, and what will be will be. I said, but the biggest thing to do is to get that ball forward as quickly as possible, and then sort of we come alive, and hopefully I've got 3 forward fast players chasing after the ball or getting on the ball. And then the other one was, if one of their defenders goes to commit, just leave him. And as a defensive unit, we've got to be ready for that challenge of, we might be, they might have a man over, if that makes sense. Yeah. But again, if we get that ball and then we're 3-on-2, even better. So those are the 2 things I used to say on that point. But yeah, it's always one that staggered me that the Premier League teams don't do that. But the problem is it's more of this, the risk outweighs the reward, doesn't it?
I think what Pete said is very true. I wonder whether somebody has to start these trends off, and I do wonder whether this may be a start of a trend of doing that. Because we do see football evolve, and especially these sort of tactical nuances in football that make it very interesting to see, and that is something I think that we may see other teams.
Well, it's also situational too, because if you're trailing, you're more likely to roll the dice, right?
Yes.
Than if you're leading. If you're leading, I don't know if you're sending 4. And I think in the circumstances we're talking about, it might have been 1-1 at the time, or I don't think we were 1 up at the time. I'm trying to remember. No. I think it was 1-1 already.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah. Any more questions, Steve?
Well, what do you think it needs, Pete, for us to get us going? And look, we all know in Unai, and we trust in Unai, and I'm confident it will turn eventually. But I don't know what your thoughts are, but I think we just need a spark of some description. And I think we almost had that against Chelsea with the start, and probably the first 20 minutes was really, really good, positive, explosive, sort of going forward. And I think as soon as they come into the game, we struggled a little bit. But what's your thoughts in terms of is it a moment we need? Is it a change of system? Is it a couple of change of personnel? What's your thoughts on that, Pete?
It's such a great question because honestly, if it was that easy, it would have been done by now, right? Is it the difference between Tammy Abraham starting? Is it the difference? For me, again, the dramatic change between what we saw at Newcastle, and they're no mugs either, by the way, that team. They've got players and they've had our number in that ground forever. But the spark and the liveliness of that game compared with how it's looked recently, and again, Yuri Tielemans was involved in that game up until he got hurt there, but Buendia was flying. Morgan Rogers was flying. Ollie Watkins was flying, and so was Jadon Sancho. And it just doesn't feel the same. And I said off the top here that as Morgan Rogers goes, Aston Villa goes. He has to be the fulcrum of everything we do. He has to either distribute or carry at the appropriate times. He's so good at sending players through himself. Like, his passing is a largely underrated aspect of his game, but he's not passing with the same urgency that he did at times. He takes 4 touches now when he really just needs 1 or 2. And the offside goal, he had a position to play that ball way earlier because you had Caicedo facing the wrong way. Like, his back was to Ollie Watkins. So if he plays that early, as we've seen so many examples of Morgan Rogers playing that ball first time or second time, 1 or 2 touches. And it's just this whole thing with everybody right now. They're taking that extra touch. There's a moment of hesitation. The Amadou Onana chance late in the game in stoppage time. Again, I'm trying to remember. There's been so many games, but he has the chance to tie the game late. Where were we? We were away recently. And he just took that. Oh, it was Wolves. We're down 1 bagel at Wolves. And he gets the chance. And there's that moment of hesitation again, whereas at some points earlier in the season, he just hits it. Just hit it. You might get a rebound. You might get a deflection. You might get another corner. And he didn't. And so he gave time for Sa to set, makes the save, and then nothing came from the second chance. And this is just a mental thing for me. The first 6 games was a mental thing. It was attitude. Unai Emery called it laziness. You just got to roll up your sleeves and get to work. And then all of a sudden, everything clicked in. Is it a break? Yeah, it could also be. I mean, it's amazing how sometimes you just have that one little moment. And in the Chelsea game, I mean, look what happens. Ollie Watkins is an eyelash offside. And then how many minutes later was it that Joao Pedro is an eyelash onside? I don't think he was, based on the first angle that we saw on television, which was not the same as the VAR graphic they peddled to us. But you see how the whole game changed in that 1 point. 2-1 into halftime is so different than 1-2. So I've not seen Unai Emery as exasperated, maybe is not the right word, but there's definitely been a change to his demeanor a little bit. He's probably wondering the same thing. He's wondering the same thing as all of us. What is it going to be? What is that secret ingredient to snap us out of it?
And I think the problem Unai has is, well, he's so hyper sensitive to everything, and he's so the way he analyzes games. It must be so frustrating for the guy that like you say, you watched it twice. He watches these games multiple times, and he must be just thinking, we've worked so hard on these games. We've worked so hard to make sure every single aspect of every game and team we're playing against, we've covered every possible avenue of issue. And then when it goes wrong, and it repeatedly goes wrong, you must question, what am I doing wrong here?
This also brings into, what does the rest of the staff say? What does Paco say? What does, all these guys
on board?
What are they saying? And how much does he, take that perspective and bring it on board? Because, there is a control freakish type trait to Unai Emery, and this is why he is where he is. And I'm perfectly fine with that. And maybe, somebody doesn't get their way or a suggestion is just eschewed. But, I just hope that keeps coming. because, you have all this staff. You need to have those perspectives.
I'd love to sit in an interview into one of them
Oh,
meetings. Wouldn't you?
Me too. Oh,
Yeah.
I tell you, they could probably
wouldn't it?
make our whole PSR situation go away by allowing people
Charge
to
it. Yeah.
charge them like VIP prices to
Yes.
sit in on one of those.
Corporate. That's where they should have the corporate money in there.
Big time.
I bet it's
Corporate
intense.
ticket there, mate.
Yeah.
I think one thing that I think we've got to be, well, look, it's each individual person, but I know there's a lot of pressure on getting Tillemans and McGinn back. And don't get me wrong, getting them back in any level of fitness, like I think you guys said to Steve when he was on previous that McGinn, it might have even been Steve himself. Tillemans plays all with his head. He's not, he's not blessed with pace. Although I think he's quicker than people actually think when he gets going. So don't get me wrong, I do think they'll have a huge benefit to the squad and make an impact. But I think we've got to be mindful of our expectation. The only one thing I would say about McGinn is he's got that in him to, a 20-minute McGinn that, runs a length of the pitch or runs, or makes that tackle or, gets the crag. I think what we've probably missed is that leadership. Now, Tillemans probably isn't so much a leader in terms of he's like a McGinn that will get people going. But I think because he's a winner, and you can see that in him, naturally that rubs off on you as teammates. And I think that's probably what we've lacked. And like you say, no disrespect to Konza, he's tried to step up. He's not having the greatest of seasons generally. But I don't think Konza is a leader. I think Mings is more of a leader than Konza. Mm-hmm. Problem is, Mings already took off him. And second of all, he's probably not going to play every game, is he? Where Konza is, or more likely.
Yeah, one of the big issues with those three players missing is they're all on-field generals. They might not. Obviously McGinn carries the armband, but all three of them, with their experience, where they've played and the level they play at, internationally and domestically, you're losing three huge characters, aren't you? And
I've been told that Yuri Tillemans is an exemplary professional.
Yeah.
So you're right, Steve. Like, it's not that he's a very different kind of leader than McGinn, but I bet you that his words in the dressing room carry as much weight as McGinn's from a different perspective. And you're right. What we miss at times is the fact that McGinn can make the first man miss. And it all of a sudden opens everything up. Our whole game is about opening up the center of the park to accelerate through. And when you don't have that turn and that bum shoved into somebody, to win the leverage battle and to win a duel, it's hard. And the one guy that I was really, really hoping would step up in that regard is Amadou Onana, because everything he has everything he needs to be the fulcrum leader in that team.
Yeah.
And I've not felt it.
He could be a monster, couldn't he, for Villa? He should be a monster for Villa. Yep. Physicality, like you say, his personality as well. It leads to the fact that you want him to be running the team, but it's just something seems to be holding him back a little bit. Right, Steve, I'll let you go because I have got somebody else waiting to come on, but I appreciate you your time as always, mate, and I'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Up the Villa.
Up the Villa, Steve. Right, we've got one more guest coming on, Pete, and this one is live from America, if Joe is around. Joe, is he in the building? Joe? Hold on. Is he not more technical problems, Pete? We don't want any more.
It's a long way from North America. You got two North Americans on, so the hamster wheel is running at full tilt right now. You can do it.
He was there a minute ago because I saw him wandering about. Come on, Joe.
Whereabouts from North America?
I think he's in Texas. Is he Texas?
Okay.
Right, he's dropped out. I'll get him back on when he comes back on. Right. Pete, let's do this. Okay, ready? I'm going to bring this up now. And now I want Pete is now going to be Unai Emery for the next 10 minutes. Okay? Okay, Pete. What is your starting 11 for game on Thursday?
I think he will go Lindelof Powell.
So are you going with Martinez in goal?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I think he goes Luka Dean in his homeland. And then there's a question of Matty Cash's availability. I'm going to hedge on the side of probably Lamar Bogard.
Okay. So Bogard right back, centre half.
I'm sure I'm probably 0 for 4 is what I'm or 0 for 5
what
at
did
the
you
moment.
say about centre halves? I missed that.
So I
Did you
said
say Lindelof?
Lindelof right and Powell left.
Oh, okay. Right. Double pivot.
Yeah. At some point, Ross Barkley, this is a big game. He never rotates by more than, usually it's 6 is around the game because he has to consider the Manchester United game as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I would probably think it would be, and Barkley could also be the 10 as well.
I had this debate earlier when I was trying to pick my side.
It's tough. Let's put Tammy Abraham up front, though.
Okay, that's a definite. Tammy goes in up top.
I think Morgan Rogers plays behind him.
In the 10?
Yep. I think Jadon Sancho plays on the right-hand side.
Okay.
And, no, because then Emi Buendia.
This is an interesting one, Pete. We hear that Harvey Elliott is available to play any of the Europa League games,
but he's not fit. He's struggling.
Yeah,
something's come up. That would have been another kind of almost no-brainer. So on the left-hand side, then that leaves Alisson, or it's Rogers there and Buendia in the middle, or Barkley in the middle, because again the center back options are limited as well. It's Luiz and Onana probably.
So we're going Luiz.
Yeah, I think it's Luiz and I think it'll be Luiz Onana.
So we're going Rogers left.
Yeah, Rogers goes left.
So
Buendia is probably the 10 and Sancho's on the right-hand side. So the changes for the most part, experienced goalkeeper who will be given the bird still in France, and he loves that, Emi Martinez. He, of course, was the hero the last time there. But Pau and his ability to pick a pass, Lindelof, the fact that he's a pair of fresh legs, that's kind of how I see it there.
Yeah, I'm pretty much on the same page as you, although I had probably Matty Cash at right back, but that is dependent on injuries, obviously, and I would rather have him, I think, fit for Manchester United if available. Luka Dean, for me, definitely comes in at left back. I had Torres and Konsa. Onana Luiz again, but I went with, similar to you, and on about the Barkley situation. I do really want to see Barkley playing now, and I think he does. It suits us, I think, at the moment to probably play him in that 10, because I think what it would do is it would allow this to happen, which it has happened quite a lot. When it'd be interesting to see your take on this. When Kamara used to play in the double pivot, he used to drop in this sort of right back of the 3 central defenders, whereas now Luiz tends now to drop into this almost sort of Beckenbauer-esque, which is in between our 2 central defenders. But I think what Barkley brings there is that ability to float in and around the 6, 8, 10 and allow that a bit more movement and a bit more ability to sort of, like you say, the Tielemans type of role, which then gives you the front 3 of the Rodgers, the Sancho and the Abraham to maybe cause the havoc away from home. And, we can't win it in the first leg, but we don't want to certainly lose it in the first leg. And the Abraham addition gives you that ability to hold the ball up and get us up the pitch.
Yeah, I would, if I had to say it again, Buendia does probably drop. So this, in terms of changes, Abraham would be 1, Barkley would be 2, Dean would be 3, Pau and Lindelof 4 and 5, and then there's your 6. There's your 6 changes, right? Which is usually the most. He's done 7, but usually it's 6. And the other thing is, we've had a long spell since Wednesday. I mean, it's more than a week, so it's not like anybody's going to be. Yeah. I really hope actually that the players may have even gotten 2 days off. Just get away from football, reset, hang out with your friends and family, and then let's come back refreshed and mount this charge now, because it's this first game is going to be very, very important, and it'll determine the approach we get to take in the second leg.
Excellent. Right, Joe is back with us, and he is in the building.
Evening, gents, or I should
Good
say
evening,
evening,
Joe.
Justin, and afternoon, Pete.
Correct.
Afternoon, Pete. Good. He's got his timings right there. Look.
Yeah,
I won't
it
tell you
helps.
that
I'm
Pete was
closer
there an
to
hour
the
early
time
because
zone.
he'd forgot his daylight savings time had changed in Canada. Luckily,
we
though,
did.
we had issues.
Yeah, it changed for us as well. Pete, just
Okay.
so you know, I'm from Birmingham, but I'm an expat, so I live in Texas, so I'm close.
Whereabouts in Texas?
I actually live in San Antonio, but I'm moving with my fiance to the DFW area soon.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, first of all, congratulations. You can't be happy forever. You got to get married sometime, so that's great. And then
I appreciate that.
Dallas, Fort Worth, I think a fantastic city. I loved Dallas. So
it's beautiful. Yeah. No, I think the first thing I wanted to say is, Pete, I loved your video the other day. I mean, I love all your videos. I'm a huge fan.
Thank
you. I love the video on the recent game because it just puts so much stuff into perspective. And like from what I was seeing from the fan base's reaction, really didn't jive with what I saw on the pitch. And then your video came out and I was like, oh, thank you. Like I felt like I wasn't crazy for once. Like I was seeing half the fan base. They were going all in on Watkins needs to finish that. Watkins should have had a hat trick. Watkins is the reason we lost that game. And I'm there thinking, for me, the reason we lost that game was because we got overrun in the midfield and because the defending, unfortunately, wasn't good enough. It wasn't to the standards that we've seen from Mings and Concert. Because look, our attackers, you could say they did their job. They actually got the goal. And Watkins had quite a few chances. I thought he was unlucky with, sometimes it's just good goalkeeping. A goalkeeper can just save your chances. Sometimes you can't do much about that. I agree, Rodgers should have played in Watkins way earlier. I thought Rodgers was far and away the worst forward on the pitch for us. I was really disappointed in him. I get why people might have been mad at Watkins, because he genuinely was bad against Wolves, but he was much better against Chelsea. And for me, like, this is where I disagree with a lot of the Villa fan base. I don't think there's any shame in just winning 1-0 sometimes. Like, for me, it's okay to just score the goal and accept, all right, this team's going to have all the ball, just sit back, defend in a low block. And I don't see why we don't just do that sometimes against a team like Chelsea, because all their goals came from exploiting the high line. And I just wish in times like that, just ditch the high line. You've already got the goal. Just defend the lead. And maybe I'm just crazy for that. Maybe you can't do that every game. But
especially when you score 2 minutes in, that's the only thing is like, this was the problem. And I've said that this is a true fact in football. You can score too early, and it does create a strange approach afterwards. You're risk averse to go and try to get the second one, even though when the times were the best for me under Unai Emery, the Diaby, Bailey, Watkins, when they're flying, when we were routinely battering teams, there was forward play with impunity. And, in the case of last Wednesday, Chelsea exploited our transitional moments against. So when we lost the ball upfield, we were done. And this is the structure. This is the structure that Unai Emery talks about all the time. And this is how we react to a loss of possession, especially in the front third, is everything. And then we didn't do the same, except for a couple times. And I think one of the reasons why everybody was so furious with Ollie Watkins is the one time we did pinch the ball in the front third through Buendia, he plays Ollie Watkins in, and Watkins looked like he wanted to walk it into the goal rather than doing what he did in the late stages of the first half. Just smash it on target, like he did against Nottingham Forest, like he did when the goalkeeper went like that. And I thought was actually a little bit lucky. Like I was like, you are really taking a chance the way you reacted to that shot. But I digress.
Yeah, and I get that, but there's not a striker in world football that buries every single chance they get. Of course. There's none. Like, even Haaland has missed chances like that. He's missed like an embarrassing amount of chances. So I just feel like they say, oh, Watkins doesn't finish, right? And are we going to stick with Watkins after this season? I don't know. I can see us moving him on. I can see us like either making Abraham the main striker until Maggio takes over, or getting someone else. Like, I don't know, right? But for me, he's our striker for now. And while we have these players, until the summer, we should stick by him. And for me, like, when Watkins gets a lot of chances, but the goalkeeper just saves them or he fluffs a couple of them. That's a lot different from against the Wolves game where he wasn't even getting the chance aside from a single chance that he didn't do much with. Like, that's a game where I can say, okay, you weren't good enough, mate. You were losing the ball all the time. I didn't think Chelsea was one of those games. So I was just really confused by it.
Yeah, and the Wolves game, you know, it's 6 minutes in, and he gets played in by Rodgers, who played the ball early, again, you know, using fewer touches to play it in behind. In his prime, Ollie Watkins probably hits that as it comes to the edge of the D, and he slots it either side of the goalkeeper who's off his line, you know, and if he slots it on either side of the goalkeeper, I'm sorry, he's not getting there, or at least he's getting a corner or a rebound or something. And again, what happens? Split-second hesitation. The game completely changes if Ollie Watkins slots home in minute number 6 at Wolves.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that too. I completely agree with that. Like, I understand also fans say, well, goals change games. And they do change games as well, right? And that's why sometimes they blame Watkins. But for me, like, when you're letting 4 goals, that's not the fault of your striker. Because you're basically asking your striker to bail you out with 5 goals. And that's just not realistic. It's not going to happen.
Is there anything else you want to ask Pete, Joe?
Yeah. So, on the point about, you've touched on it earlier with the lineup, really. The point about Torres and Mings. So, I wanted to know what your take on that was, really. Like, why you think he's preferring Mings over Torres most of the time? Because I go back and forth on the two. Sometimes I'm like, Mings has to start all day long. And then sometimes I'm like, well, we're just not breaking down teams with Mings. We're not breaking them down without Torres. So I wonder, you know, and you're hearing like there's rumors of Marcos Senesi in the summer, which I could see that. Do you think it's a case where we just, like, do you think it's a case where he doesn't favor Torres anymore and he moves him on in the summer and we rebuild the defense differently? Or do you think it's a case of we don't have the leadership right now? Let's just put Mings in until we get McGinn back. And then, you know, maybe we'll start seeing Torres when we're on a better run.
So I think it's the latter there. I think that's a really great point, given the fact that we are so thin in the leadership department. And when you're comparing Torres with Mings, from that standpoint, it's not even close because Torres is a quiet guy. But we've heard Villa players say, who's Unai Emery's favorite player? And everybody says always it's Kamara and Torres. Yep. Those two can have a stinker and you know they're going to start. The weird thing about Torres is that he was sort of kept out of the team, and then the game against Everton comes around and he had the really misfortunate, I don't know if his body shape was the best, but the ball clips his heel. Dwight McNeil shoots the rebound 1-0. That's it. And then against Brentford, almost the similar kind of thing. Ball gets pinged in. It comes straight back and Ouattara scores from it. I mean, really unfortunate moments, but in a period when margins are so tight and when points are so hard to come by, it feels like, you know, was that enough to convince Unai Emery, well, we need a more defensively robust player there? And then on the other side of it, you know, you don't have the guy who can play the accurate long ball in behind for a Watkins running the channel or a Buendia or Rodgers, because he can make those passes. That's not Mings' strength. Mings' distribution is decent, but it's not to the level of Pau Torres. So that one has flummoxed me a little bit as to what really changed and why, because Pau Torres was the first guy he wanted to bring in. And Torres knew the manager's system. The manager knew what Torres can bring. So what has changed? It's a really great question you'd love. And maybe there's something else happening behind the scenes. Maybe there is some kind of an injury or something we don't know about that's hampering the player.
My thoughts on the Mings sort of situation about him playing. I've always been of the opinion that Mings plays against more physical players. I think that's an obvious assumption to make because of his size, his stature, and he's more of a defender's defender, if you like. Whereas as I think when we are not playing well, when our form isn't good, I think Torres struggles sometimes to impact games. And I think when you've got, and I know we keep bringing these players back into, when you've got the likes of Kamara, McGinn, Tielemans in front of Torres, it's a lot easier for Torres to play football with that type of player ahead of him. But when you're playing, and with the greatest respect to a Dougie Luiz who's come back in and has done okay, but he's not the Dougie Luiz that we sold, and you've got an Onana who isn't that type of player as well, then maybe Torres isn't as impactful in games as he is when he's got a Tielemans to find or a Kamara on the half turn. Do you know what I'm saying?
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time.
No,
But the problem is then you get put into the Wolves game. Okay, so all of a sudden Pau Torres is back in the Wolves game. Maybe it is because of what you talked about, the difference in the profile of striker that he was up against. And he comes into the game and is gifted a chance to score from the corner off a header, and he kind of gets it wrong. And this is the problem of these changes. Like, you can't get into that rhythm. You can't get into that timing. And at some point, I think, he has to ride one of them, one way or the other.
Joe, anything else before you pop off back to Texas?
Yeah, one last thing, lads. I mean, I know, call me delusional.
Delusional.
Feeling about Man United, I got a weird feeling about it because
I hope you're right, Joe.
Brentford have never gotten anything at ours until this season. Everton haven't gotten anything at ours for a long time.
Newcastle
this season. We've had nothing at St. James's Park for a long time. Man United look a bit dodgy. I've got a weird feeling that McGinn comes back and then we get a result there. I'm not saying we'll win it, but maybe we just draw it. We get a weird, funny result that we don't normally get there. And then all of a sudden, we're starting to look at the season a little differently. I don't know why. Call me deluded. Call me, cuckoo.
No. Listen, you're not the only one to say that, Joe. I've seen a lot of people say, in this weird year where long historical, strange things have gone on, that, we're overdue, especially the karma from last year. So if they go to Old Trafford and win, okay, how are you celebrating? Are you celebrating with ribs, with steak? What are you doing down there in the heart of Texas?
I'm hoping.
I'm actually vegan, mate. So
you're in the wrong state, man. You need to move to Austin, stat.
You're barred. No, I'm only joking.
I'll celebrate with some meatless meat for barbecue, though. Definitely.
Fair enough.
Joe, it's been a pleasure as always. Thanks for coming on, mate, and we'll speak to you again, I'm sure, pretty soon.
Yeah, up the Villa, and keep doing what you're both doing, lads. We love it.
Cheers.
Thanks, Joe. Okay, that's the final guest done for this evening, Pete. A couple more things we'll chat about before we let you go back to your beautiful home and wife and family. Thoughts for the rest of the season, Pete? I think we've sort of alluded to it there with what we just said there. We are only one result now away from hopefully restarting. And we haven't got long left, have we? Let's be right. 9 league games.
9 games. 2 in Europa League, hopefully a lot more. I'm trying to look at my music playlist because I have to answer that question as well.
Don't worry, you've got time, Pete. You've got time.
I'm trying to think, do I go with something that's really awesome Canadian that maybe your viewers haven't experienced before that I could share?
Got a few musical lovers in the chat, Pete.
Your country is always cutting edge of music. You're always 6 months ahead of us in terms of what's cool and hot. So for the rest of the season, everything changes when we do get McGinn and Tielemans back one way or the other, because even if they're not coming back in a starting role, they are there to hopefully alleviate some of the heavy lifting from guys like Onana or Luiz, for example. There's a hedge, and also there is, as we mentioned earlier, the leadership. I'm not going to say it's a disaster if we don't qualify for Champions League, because I feel as though the Morgan Rogers situation is it's very Jack Grealish-like. All of it feels Jack Grealish-like to me, and I think it's inevitable we're going to move him on one way or another to alleviate the constant worry about the PSR and SCR type stuff.
Yeah.
Of late, what is concerning me is the amount, and I know it's all just clickbaity crap, but have you noticed how much Unai Emery to Real Madrid stuff there's been happening of late? So whether that's true or not, the fact is it's a distraction that this group does not need right now, and it's not something that the supporters need either. And we know what the loyalty quotient is. Unai Emery feels extremely loyal to Nassif Sawiris and Wes Edens. I don't think he ever wants to leave a project until he feels like he's accomplished something meaningful and left that legacy behind. And I would certainly also hope that he has a big hand in whoever replaces him. In my opinion, it's Anthony Iriola. Like, if that's the guy, it just seems like it's a little bit more seamless, and it's a guy who has slightly different style, but Basque managers, probably easier to get, that kind of thing, experience in the Premier League. So those are the things that I kind of think about as we, head into the stretch run here. And I don't, when things are in a bad moment, you look at the fixture list and you go, where are we getting a win out of here? And when things are in a good moment, you look at it and you go, oh boy, how much, how many, and how soon? You know what I mean? So that's the cruel mistress that is being an Aston Villa fan. It is like a toxic relationship that keeps pulling you back in.
Isn't it bloody just, Pete? This is why we love it so much.
Yep.
Rob said, awesome Canadian music. Got to be Neil Young or Rush.
Yeah, Neil Young. Well, Neil Young's a legend, and I mean, I'd be here forever going through his catalog because he's also Buffalo Springfield, and then Rush is like legendary. The one that I'm not sure if they are really very popular in the UK is the Tragically Hip, which is a band out of Kingston, Ontario. Have you heard of them?
I've never heard of Martha and the Muffins either. They're a good
Echo
band,
Beach, far away in time.
Oh,
Martha
Echo
and the Muffins.
Beach, yes. Is that Martha and the Muffins?
That's Martha and the Muffins. Good Canadian kids. And then, one of the greatest albums in Canadian history was Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill.
Yes.
Your missus probably wore it out.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. It was Alanis Morissette, it was Sarah McLachlan. There was this whole period of unbelievable Canadian female artists. But there's a song called All I Really Want, an angry, revenge-fueled, hateful song, but it has an edge to it that to me would fit in a pre-match setting. There's so much. Honestly, I'm a huge music fan. So to try to pick one is really hard.
Is that the song, Pete?
All I Really Want by Alanis Morissette would be up there.
Okay. I'm going to listen to that when we come off here.
Okay, yeah. And you tell me what you think. Give me a review on it, because it's
we've got one more thing to do, Pete, which I haven't told you about. So every guest, I've decided, will be playing this. Aston Villa Mastermind.
Okay.
10 questions. You're the third person to have a go. Rujay, my friend DJ, came on. He got 3 out of 10. He's currently second on the leaderboard. Gary Thompson, 5 out of 10. So that's a bit better.
Oh, man.
Okay. So your first job is to pick a set of questions. So you've got seasons from 2000. These are yearly. So you can have 2000, 2001, up to 2021, 22, and any season in between. You can have European adventures of the 70s, 80s, 90s, FA Cup games, geographical Villa, transfers in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. What do you fancy?
I'm going the COVID year, 2021, 2022.
2021, 2022 season. Okay. Let's find the questions. So no pressure, Pete. Okay.
Yeah.
2021, 2022. 10 questions. Let's find the answers. That might be a good idea, mightn't it? So
is there a time limit?
Nope.
Okay.
We've got all night. Well, we haven't, but you know what I mean. Okay, right. Pete, these are your questions. I wish I could have had a fader or something. Anyway, right. Villa scored 3 times from the penalty spot in the Premier League. The goals came away on the opening day, at home the following week, and at Molineux in April. 3 different players scored them. Who were they?
Wolves was Anwar El Ghazi.
Correct.
The second one was where, sorry?
First one was at home. Sorry, away on the opening day, at home the following week, and at Molineux in April.
Okay, so the first one away was at Fulham. if I'm not mistaken. So it was either Jack Grealish didn't take penalties.
I like
but I
you
think it.
thinking, mate. I like you working out loud.
Yeah, I think I'm going to actually say it was Ollie Watkins.
Correct.
Okay, and then number 2. Sorry, again, where was number 2?
So we had the away on the opening day, at home the following week, so second game of the season, and the third was the Molineux game in April.
Okay, so the second game at home. Oh, that wasn't Liverpool. It wasn't the 7-2. That came later. That was the start, the 4-0 start. Who did they play at home in that second game? And if it wasn't, if it wasn't Watkins and it wasn't El Ghazi, it wasn't McGinn. Oh man, who's taking that second penalty? Gee whiz. I'm drawing a blank. So I don't get 3. I don't get 2 out of 3. I get none for 1 on this.
Unfortunately, yeah, that's the
okay. So can you at least give me a hint of who was the opponent in that second home game?
It doesn't say who the game was.
Because it went Fulham, and then it went somebody, and then it went away, and then it was Liverpool.
It was a forward. I'll give you a clue because you've done so well.
Wasn't Trezeguet.
You know what I really love about this, Pete? That you care so much that you're thinking.
Well, no, I hate being wrong. I'm German.
Right, let me find out the game. So I've got my little book of everything here.
Oh, because everybody's screaming the answer right now. That's the frustrating thing. You idiot! It's this guy.
Right.
And you notice I don't have my phone, so I'm not looking it up myself.
And he didn't even know I was going to do this to him, so this is why it's not. So the first game of the 21-22 season was.
Do you know, I might be wrong. I might be getting my seasons mixed up here because actually in the season
the game was El Ghazi Pen. And that was Newcastle at home. The Watkins pen was in the Wolves game away. And so we played Watford at home. And we scored 2 goals.
I've got my season totally mixed up then. I was thinking the year before. I was thinking 2020-21, which was we started against Sheffield United and won on an Emi Martinez penalty save and scored, I think.
Yep.
So it was El Ghazi, and then it was Watkins at Wolves.
Yep. So you're missing 1 player.
Gosh. And which ones? Hate to belabor this, but again, which one is the one I'm missing? Which is the one I'm missing?
At home, first game of the season.
2-0. Home?
Watford.
Watford was the first game at home. I thought Watford was away. Well, it was Danny Ings.
Sorry, one. Yes, Danny Ings. Yes, Danny Ings.
Yeah. Okay.
So Ings, El Ghazi, and Watkins.
Okay.
Correct.
Boom.
Right. Which player's own goal in a 3-0 home win over Everton on the 18th of September 21 was an early bonus on his part as he later moved to Villa Park?
Own goal from Everton. Oh my God. In a 3-0 home win, and then he moved, and why can I not think? Well, it's Luca Dean.
Yes! 2 for 2. I knew you'd be good at this, Pete. 3. The following week, Villa went to Old Trafford and came away with all 3 points, with a 1-0 win, courtesy of a goal from which player 2 minutes from time?
Courtney Hoss.
Yes! 3 from 3. Right, question 4. November saw a change in the hot seat at Villa Park when Dean Smith was eased out to be replaced by Steven Gerrard. The club Villa met for Smith's last game and the one they met for Gerrard's first game are geographically close to each other.
The Smith dismissal game was a 1-0 loss to Southampton with Armstrong scoring the only goal. And Steven Gerrard's first game in charge was a 2-0 win against Brighton and Hove Albion with both Ollie Watkins and Tyrone Mings scoring.
Wow. I think I should just give up giving you the questions.
Well,
Pete.
this is because this was a traumatic period in my life when this was happening.
Okay, and this is what you're associating this with.
Yes, trauma.
Someone's put German precision, Pete. Was Technik. Right. Right, here we go. Question 5. I'm expecting a full house now. No pressure, Pete. First full house. Right. Visits to London were usually painful affairs for Villa fans. They went down to the capital for 6 league games and lost 5 of them. Which club did they beat in the other game?
Ollie Watkins scored early. John McGinn scored late. They conceded a 2-1 goal at Selhurst Park, Crystal Palace.
Wow. Absolutely.
And that made it 2-0 for Steven Gerrard, by the way. And we all thought, oh, he's a brilliant signing. Whoa, young manager. Look at how passionate he is with all those Muppets behind him in the dugout. Gary McAllister. Oh, my word.
Okay. 6 from 6, Pete. Question number 7. Talking of hat-tricks. Hold on. Is that the right question? Oh, sorry. This is question 6. So that was 5 from 5, wasn't it? Yeah. Question 6. Villa went out of the FA Cup to Manchester United and the League Cup on penalties to Chelsea. Their only win in the cup competition came in the latter tournament when they won 6-0 in the northwest of the country. Who did they beat, and which Villa man got a hat-trick in that game?
That was the tiny club Barrow,
Yep.
where forward Cameron Archer scored a hat-trick.
Excellent, Pete. 6 from 6. Question 7. Talking of hat-tricks, who was the only man to score one against Villa in that 2021-22 season?
If you narrow it down to the opponent, obviously that's going to be a giveaway. So I'm thinking here now, because this is Steven Gerrard came on board, then it was a disaster. Well, it wasn't a disaster, but okay, it wasn't Manchester City away.
As you've been so brilliant, I will give you a clue.
Okay.
It is a London club.
Okay, so Sonny?
Correct.
Ah!
Son Heung-min. 7 from 7. I hope everyone is absolutely as unbelievably excited about this as I am, because 8 question. The player supporters voted as their player of the season was also the only man to appear in every league game for the club. Who was it?
Okay. Boy, that's tough. Because, boy, Konza had a tough time, but there was nobody replacing Konza, and then there's the whole Mings thing that was weird when he took over. Boy, that is one that I don't remember that well. Let me just try to think of who else was in that group. It wasn't Buendia. It wasn't Ings, because he didn't play all the time. It wasn't Ollie Watkins, I don't think. So
I think you're going to get this.
Yeah.
Your logical mind is coming round to it.
Well, and Boubacar Kamara hadn't joined yet in that season. He came the following season. Ah, man, who was it? And that's a player that's no longer with the club by any chance?
No, they're still with the club.
They're still with the club. Okay, that's a good clue. Well, I'm rolling the dice here, but I think Emi Martinez.
No, Pete.
I was going to say Douglas Luiz after, but
no, Matty Cash.
Oh man, yeah, I would have never ever got that. No.
That's, mate, it's still incredibly impressive so far. So 7 out of 8 so far. We can still get 9. Question 9. On the 10th of March, 2022, Villa turned in a fine display on the road, coming back to the Midlands with a 3-0 win. What was strange was that the names of their 3 goal scorers all began with the same letter. Who did they beat that day, and which 3 players found the net?
Whoa. Well, my guess would be.
I was at this game.
So this was the. Was this the win over West Bromwich Albion 3-0 where Traore?
Nope.
Okay, so if it was okay, well, I'm way off then. They won 3. So I was confused there. You said it was an away game. They returned to the Midlands, so it wasn't
on
the
the
Midlands.
10th of March, 2022, Villa turned in a fine display on the road. They came back to the Midlands with a 3-0 win. What was strange was that the names of all 3 goal scorers began with the same letter. Who did they beat that day, and which 3 players found the net? I'll tell you who the team is, Pete.
Okay.
We beat Leeds 3-0.
Oh, okay.
So we need the
Callum
3
Chambers.
goal scorers.
Callum
Yes.
Chambers got the 2-0. And you say that they. So the
Their
goal scorers.
surnames all begin with the same letter.
Their first or second name?
Surnames, yeah, second names.
Okay, so Matty Cash would have been one of them.
Yep. Cash, Chambers, and think Gerrard era.
Yeah.
Big signing for Gerrard.
Oh, Coutinho, of course.
Yes.
Of course.
Okay.
That was a January window signing. It was not in the off season. That's right.
Yeah, March. That's when we played him. Yep. So
Okay.
8 out of 9. Last question, Pete, and I'll put you out of your misery. Boxing Day started well when a Chelsea player put through his own net to give Villa the lead, but the Londoners recovered to win the game 3-1 with help of 2 penalties. Who scored the own goal?
Who scored the own goal for Villa?
Yes, so for Chelsea to give Villa the goal
On Boxing
That was a Chelsea
Day.
player.
Right. Oh, man. Boy.
This is a harsh question, given it's
Yeah.
Villa
So, man, that is not. I'm not recalling that game. I know that Boxing Day has just been so bad every single year, and I think the year after we lost to Manchester United on Boxing Day, but the Chelsea game is kind of foggy. It's gonna be a defender, is what I'm gonna say.
Yep.
And I'm gonna go Ezri Konsa.
That was a Chelsea player.
Oh,
Scored for
sorry.
Villa.
Oh, so a Chelsea player scored the
Yep.
own goal
Own goal.
on our goal.
Yeah, for us.
Okay.
He was a defender.
From that era,
Still
Silva?
playing for them.
Oh no, he's no. If it's still playing, oh then it's Chalobah,
No, Reece James.
Reece James. Okay.
That's the
Yeah.
top
Well,
one,
I'm happy
mate.
with 8.
8 out of 10 sends you to the top of the leaderboard, Pete. And I've got to say, that's going to take some beating.
Good.
That's definitely going to take some beating. Okay, that's it. I've taken up far too much of Pete's time this evening. He needs to get
My
back to
pleasure.
stand up. It's been honestly an honour to have you on, Pete, and hopefully you'll come on again and join us and have a chat with all of our lovely followers. It just reminds me to say thanks to everyone for joining us. We got your song, didn't we? Yes. All That I Really Want, Alanis Morissette, which I'm going to go and listen to right now. Thanks everyone for joining us. If you haven't already, go and subscribe to Pete's channel, but I'm pretty sure everybody in here has already. But if you haven't, go and do it straight away. And I will speak to you all soon. And Pete, if you hang on 2 seconds, once the exit music finishes, we'll have a quick chat.
Thanks for having me on.
Anytime, mate. You know you're always welcome. That's it then. Speak to you soon. Up the Villa.